Yes. So check in. So just waiting for him to check in with me. I I was supposed to start earlier. My apologies. Um, Started watching uh TV with my wife, so that's what happened. But we're here. I'm just waiting for him to jump in. Hopefully he can still make it. If not, this will be an impromptu ask me anything format. But I do have a setup for today where my friend Ty, who was on my stream 3 months ago, um, we were talking about like black issues and stuff like that. And then we didn't really get to finish the conversation. So he's back so we can continue that conversation. Presumably, I think we're going to, continue the conversation on relationships and race. So as we do that, I'm going to go fix my lighting and get everything kind of built up here. Um, okay. So I have the live chat filter, so that means all messages are are visible to me and everyone else. However, I will have my moderators on deck to keep things under control because I know how it gets late. We all know how it gets when it gets late. The mogwais come out at night. Um, and so yeah, I'll have my moderators. If none of my uh, human moderators are available, I do have my AI moderator built in to my channel now to assist. Uh, Let me I'm gonna adjust the lighting here for you guys. Make that a little bit more scenic. I wonder if I should keep it here where you can see my bug out bag, or if I should keep it like right here against my black back set. For some reason, I always get uh, people saying, "Oh, you got someone behind you." I'm like, "Yeah, that doesn't really work," but nice try. Um, an AI moderator, interesting. Yeah, it's called Streamlabs. So they have a moderator called CloudBot that you can build into your system that helps you moderate. I put it on a medium strict setting just because I catch a lot of trolls. Especially, I wish I had this 7 months ago when I was really going through it, because at the time I had two wise guys using a VPN trying to troll my channel, and so I couldn't control for that. Now I can. So now I can deal with that. So my homeboy is going to be in here in a few minutes. He said he just got to do some stuff. But yeah, so we're going to talk about like race and relationships. Hi, Sophia. I appreciate you using like you actually texting, because I don't trust the high emoji thing. The high emoji is often used by spam bots. So um, yeah. In any case, like I said, you explain to the mod what to exclude. Yeah, so you can build. So it has a bunch of features that you can build into it, how it that allow you to control. Oh no, you're good, Sophia. To allow you to control it. So I did my trial run early this week to see how it went. Here we go now. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Good, man. I was just introducing everyone to what's going on in the chat room. Thank you, Moonlit, for putting my Cash App handle here. So a little things have changed. I got a few more not moderators. I'm sorry, subscribers. Just a few. I'm trying to reach hopefully 10,000 by the end of the year. That way I can actually have like checks that I can actually like get a meal, maybe a steak once in a while.
Yeah.
But oh, and I'm using this platform for content creators called Streamlabs. Have you heard of that?
Streamlabs. Yeah, I used to be on there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know they have an OSB plugin too, but to be honest, I'm not sure how to. Well, I'm not too familiar with the OSB thing. But so far, I was surprised because I didn't think it was going to work for like a vertical live stream, but it allowed me to build to use a AI moderator in my streams. But to get like the full services, I had to do like a desktop live stream, which I haven't done yet, just because I'm working with an old laptop from my office that doesn't have all the capabilities I need for it yet.
Hmm.
So that's why I mostly do the vertical live streams. But there is a mobile version that I can utilize, but I haven't figured it out yet.
Okay.
So this guy's about to get banned. See, there you go. I,
Already. Wow.
yeah, I didn't even have to do it. Streamlabs did it. I put it. So one of the features, like one of the guys was just asking before you popped in, like, can you tell it what to exclude? And I was telling him, yes, you can. That was one of the things I told the AI moderator to exclude is people putting in all caps because
Okay.
that's spamming. Like, that's usually someone who's on on some bullshit. So
Yeah, I'm still learning all this stuff because I used to do live streams, just business topics and everything. I stopped about a year ago, but I know I use live stream and all that other stuff. So, but I never get too.
man, back in the day in college, I was super like I didn't even take a computer. Well, I took like one computer course in college, which was like basic apps and stuff. But I remember in college, I was so nerdy with computers. Like even my girlfriend, she was like, you are geekier than a Korean boy in an internet cafe. Like she meant that as a compliment because she was like she was Blasian, and she's like, I mean that as a compliment. I was like, I know you mean that as a compliment. But
My first computer was a Commodore 64 on black and white TV.
mine was a Tandy, the Radio Shack
Radio
computers.
Shack. Yeah, yeah, I remember those. We used to have those in
I
the
think I had
school
that.
I was going to. Those Tandy computers, the big keyboard. I remember all that good stuff.
Yeah, my father bought me one when I was I think like 8, like
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think like 8 or 9, and it was the old school one where you still had the tape recorder for like your programs,
Yeah.
like one of those. But yeah, so before you came in, I was already introducing everyone. I was telling them that this was going to be like a follow up to our previous live stream 3 months ago,
Hmm.
and that's some we could talk about like what we were talking about off camera, which was like relationships and race. Because I know you said you wanted to touch on that,
Yeah.
and you wanted to touch on pause growing up in Philly. Um, you know, when I was talking about the deportation stuff.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Howard. So again, this is my guest Ty, friend of mine, guys. So he's actually been on the stream before, but that was about 3 months ago. So most of you watching this or will be watching this after it's uploaded, may have not seen him in a live stream before.
Glad to be here on the Friday night because it's a lot going on. So definitely
Yeah.
um, have a lot to talk about, a lot to say. So I'm definitely looking forward to this conversation.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you want to start it out, go right ahead.
Well, pretty much everybody. You guess, like I said, I'm. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm just. My name is Ty from Philly, and I follow YouTube, and I have my own channel, Simplified Accounting. You know, talk about mostly business and accounting things, but I spend a lot
Make
of
sure I
time.
link. Make sure I link that, by the way, so I can link your channel so they can go to your channel too. Because had I didn't remember. I was trying to remember last time whether you had a channel or not because YouTube has the thing where you can send in your collaboration with another content creator
Yeah.
and they give you certain perks for it. So I already received mine. Like I got a free AMC ticket, so I went to go see Fantastic Four two
Okay.
days ago.
Uh,
And you and the collaborator win like a chance to win $1,000 and you split it.
okay.
So I was like, I mean, $500 in a lot, but hey, I could
Yeah.
use 500.
I know I could use it.
Damn
But
right.
I do follow everything that's going on in the in the world, crazy world, and gosh, it's just so much to get into. But I know the other day, I think it was a few days ago, you was talking about the mass deportation and everything that's
Mhm.
going on, and how like I see the other groups out there, basically wondering why black people is not coming out there and helping. And I just see what everybody is saying, and all these things. But it just reminded me just of my kind of experiences, growing up in Philly and dealing with like other races. So, and my experiences, growing up in Philly wasn't always the best, because a
Mhm.
lot of times, in the neighborhood, I grew up in inner city Philly. So a lot of the businesses in our neighborhood were mostly, of other races and other nationalities. So the thing that I remember most, about growing up kind of in Philly area, is a lot of them as customers going into their stores, they're like treating us kind of bad.
Yeah.
you know, and just treating us of bad. And I remember I dealt with a lot of racism, not just from white people, but just from other races and everything like that. So when I see everything that's going on, like with the protests and the mass deportation, and why everybody's saying that black people is not there helping, I'm like, I can only just sit back and kind of think about my experiences. It's like, wow, man, everybody that I dealt with that was of another, race and nationality, kind of was mean or racist, all that kind of stuff. So when I see what's going on now, it's like I have such mixed feelings about it, because I can only think back, just growing up, like everything I've been through. I'm like, oh, it was whew, just always
So
looked
I
down, you know?
so I think I told you last time, but I lived in Philly as well, but like less than a year though.
Yeah,
Like I I came there in the ninth grade and went to Parkway Gamma.
yeah. Remember saying that, yeah.
I think they renamed it Parkway West or something like that because there's more than one of them.
Yeah. I think I remember that.
And
Yeah. That particular place. Yep.
it was funny. That school, even though it was like an inner city school, was more diverse than my school in the suburbs of Baltimore.
Hmm.
Um, like I went there, it was like a bunch of Southeast Asian folks. It was white people, of course. Um, it was Latinos, and like you're saying, it was kind of segregated. To be honest,
Yeah.
like I remember all the little Vietnamese and other Southeast Asian people hung out by themselves. I think they didn't even hang out with the other Asians. I think the all the Southeast Asians were like to themselves, like they were like the I think that is what gave rise to the whole what's the term for it? Like ABG and um Asian gangster thing because you had the Vietnamese biker gangs, if you remember that.
I remember that.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, you had like some Italians and Irish people, and the funny thing was like, so I befriended this guy who was Irish, and we were hanging out, and like everyone in that little clique was like of a different race. Like one guy was Filipino, a couple of us were black. I think one dude was like Latino or something like that. And I don't know if I mentioned this last time. So like we were hanging out and he was like, man, I just gotta warn you, like if we hang out or something, he was like, my family's in the mafia. I was like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, apparently, so he was like, my uncle has a vendetta against my father. So he might try to hurt me to get back at my father. I'm like, all right. He's like, I'm just letting you know. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So I mean, nothing ever happened from the time I was there, but he at least he was like, straight up about it, like let me know, hey, you could be putting yourself in danger hanging out with me. So,
Yeah.
but it was interesting. And like you said, uh, Philly is not for the timid. Like I don't know how it is there now, but I remember it was so many crack vials on the street. I used to joke with people and said I could line them up if I ever got lost going to school and find my way back home by lining up the crack vials. Like that's
Yeah,
how
that's how it was.
yeah. People that's why I was telling your cousin, I was like, as much as we talk about the YNs today, I was like, let's be honest, our generation was way worse. Like
Yeah.
the ones today are just more I don't know how to put it. They're I don't know, they're more effeminate than us,
I was
but
just saying
we're
the same thing today.
yeah, they're more effeminate than us, but they're still violent, which is what kind of throws it off.
Yeah.
But I was like, but I was telling him like, as much as we talk about YNs, I was like, statistically, Generation X uh, kids were way more violent than them.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
can attest to that. And just be honest, like things that I see going on YouTube, especially with, the guys gossiping certain YouTubers I follow, and just the sassiness. I was like, guys like that, you know, around, we really didn't, be around like that because we just see only women doing those type of things. Just the
right, I
back
mean,
and forth and all that. And I just see all this today, and I'm like, whoa, like what's going on?
these dudes walking around with man purses with guns in them. I'm like,
Yeah,
what part of the what part of the game is that? Walking around with these little man purses with a little, a little 22 or something in it. I'm like, yo, that's crazy.
yeah, yeah. And I just sit back and I look at all these things. I'm like, man, I mean, I guess just looking at it, it's like I was never used to that. I mean, when I see arguing and certain things like that's why I got more money than you and blah blah, I just see women doing that shit, and like I
Moment,
just
he's
some
cool.
of the guys,
Sorry.
like, damn, you know.
Yeah, and then the skinny jeans and all that. Like I remember Dennis Sperling was making fun of that the other day.
Uh-huh.
Well, it was actually a repeat of an older stream he did. He had kind of clipped it and made it a separate video where he was making fun of Roland Park getting chumped by these YNs. He was like, "Yeah, they may be in these skinny jeans." He said, "But these dudes will scrap."
Hmm. Oh,
He
they
was
will.
like, he's like Roland Martin need to be more careful. He said you can't just disrespect these young guys just because they're young. He said that
Yeah,
don't mean they won't fight. He said they may look a little zesty, compared to us, but
yeah,
that don't mean they not about their life. A lot of them still are. They just
yeah,
look kind of whatever. But
yeah. But you can see what happened in Cincinnati when you mess with those YNs.
yeah, did you see that video?
Yes, I
Did,
did.
did you see that video? I talked about that. Yeah,
Oh, I saw
and it
it.
was like, man, they knocked that guy out, and then so the narrative with that by like the conservative media was that basically these little YNs were off the chain, just beating up people for no reason. And although they were wrong, the reasons they popped off was legit. Like apparently it was this little like they're all at bars late at night, so they're all drunk, so no one is using good judgment. And then on top of that, this Russian guy just offs and I think he slaps this
It's
black
that
chick or
one of
something
them.
like
Yeah,
that. And because I know Tariq Nasheed brought this up. And I was like, yeah, and he was like, yeah, these weren't American white people because they know better.
yeah,
He's like, some drunk Russian dudes, so they could just, you know, go off and do that without any repercussions. And these YNs had to let them know, no, Cincinnati is like a black town. So but they took it too far. They beat up a white woman who was just trying to protect the Russian guy. So, like I said, there was no heroes on either side, and I was like, the whole situation could have been avoided by not being out at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and if you are out at 3 a.m., just taking your butt home, like don't put your hands on someone.
yeah. Because I was watching your video when you talked about that, and I don't know, I might have been at the club in DC where you were saying, but I remember, that was about the only club that I can recall that used to be open till like 3. Because most of the clubs in Philly, I mean, they all closed at 2. But then we also
Same in
had
DC.
hash
Like
browns. Yeah,
they all closed around 2 or 2:30. The only one I remember out like that late, it was this club in Southeast DC. I forgot the club we used to go to, but then there was a club right next to it that had like the gay people, and they would be open to like late.
yeah,
And and you knew that the gay people started coming in because they started playing all the house music.
yeah, yeah.
So,
'Cause I know
and
I think I went to one club in DC, and like 3 o'clock, they just had to literally throw people out of
yeah, like
there.
I've went to almost every single club in DC, even like the international ones. Like it started like when I was 17, I went to Crazy Horse and the guard wasn't trying to let me in. And I was like, bro, it's my birthday tomorrow. He just looked at me. He was like, all right. This is way back in the day in like uh yeah, 1995. I was still 17, and the first club I ever went to was Crazy Horse. And then I went to everything: the Mirage, Quigley's, DC Live, the Waterfront, um, Dream, which became Love. Dream was even in that old video with Dipset.
Yeah.
They filmed one of the videos there. And the girl he was trying to holler at was a friend of mine in school. Like we were in class together. I was like, oh, okay, she getting famous. So good for her. I
But
think she is half Asian too. But the
yeah,
one that Jules Santana was trying to holler at in the video, like she was
yeah,
a friend of mine. So yeah, we went to every club, and then even once the nightlife started falling off, like that's when people started going to this area in DC called Adams Morgan, and they had all these little Ethiopian bars out there and stuff like that.
yeah. But that's about the only club I used to see open that late. But I mean, that's like everything we said in the video. I heard it. It's like nothing but trouble out there, especially that time of night. But
Yeah,
just the way the whole narrative was being spent. I mean, it all comes down to one thing. Keep your hands to yourself. Shit can pop off. you
yeah,
know, and and I mean, I think it went far. Especially when I saw how that the lady was knocked out and all that. I'm like, whoa, that's going crazy. But then at the same time, it's like when you mess with YNs,
right.
especially
And
from
I'm
what
like,
I hear, it's like several times. It's like you fucking with them. It's like, I mean, you bound to. It's like they'll if they push you off the first time, it's like take the hint. But if you keep provoking and provoking and provoking, eventually the smoke's gonna come your way, and they just not gonna stop. you
and
know.
and like I said in that video, I was like, you got two types of YNs. You got the kind who are cool until you disrespect them, and then that's when
Yeah.
they pop off. And then you just got the ones who are just loose cannons. Basically, the ones who act like the way we used. Well, not us particularly, but people in our
Yeah.
generation used to act back in the day.
Yeah.
So we have both types. But getting back to, I guess, what I wanted to like talk about with like, I guess, like relationships and stuff.
Hmm.
So even back then, like there was sort of this tension between you know dating dating out, as they say now, or whatever. But it coming from Chicago, like I used to live way out in the burbs. I It wasn't really an issue. Like it wasn't really a thing until I came back to the East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to date out at one point when I was in high school. I was going going through my phase where, I was kind of tired of black women, certain things. So I dated out, and it was a different experience for me, you know.
See, that didn't really happen to me until like I hit 30. So it's funny now that a lot of people think I'm like this little sellout dude who hates black women and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, dude, I pretty much exclusively dated them, except with a few exceptions up until like I was 30.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like my my first and my last girlfriends were all like dark skinned, like darker than I was.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but
And I mean, I tried it. I experimented. I mean, I wound up, marrying black women. But the time that I did it, it was like I was just going through my thing where it's like, you know what, I'm tired of the bullshit. So I dated out, and like I said, I remember O'Shea Duke Jackson said it best on one video I was watching years ago, where he said, like, how a lot of black women, they kind of want the finished product and all this other stuff, but then
mhm.
white women and women of other races, how they kind of look at you as a fact that you're in progress, So it's like you compare them to a general manager of a team where you see the prospects, and then you work with the prospect and build them up. Where sisters expect you to be, the finished product. And a lot of times when I was younger, I had the potential. I know I did, but it was like I was overlooked for somebody who they always thought was the finished product. You know what I mean? And I experienced a lot of that. Well
I
into
heard.
really my 30s.
Mm. So so some of the women I've heard their rationale for that is that they don't have the luxury of dealing with someone in their potential. They have to deal with the finished product. And I'm like, well, that's fine. That's your choice. But then they also have the choice to go with the person who was with them from day one.
Yeah.
Like, I won't begrudge their decisions to get with the guy who's already the finished product. But at the same time, you have to allow for these guys to choose whom they want from day one. So if you weren't there day one, they probably not gonna ride with you. Like,
Right.
cause in college, and I was talking with this with your cousin too, is that like I remember going out to the campus like shopping center late at night where everyone was hanging out on the weekends. There was this notorious area called Knox Road, and they used to have throw all these little off-campus parties and stuff like that, and these little kegers and all this sort of stuff. And all the like basketball and football players would be out, and who's sitting there smiling in their face? Snow bunnies, like they all like all up in their face, all up in their dorm, like, and it's like you can't be mad at these because they always say, oh, they always choose the white girl when they get on, when they go pro. I'm like, yeah, but y'all, what those black women don't realize is those white women were there with them while they were still in school. Like they are sitting there feeding these guys, you know, while they still struggling, making their way through college. These girls be out there like, just out there supporting them. Like they go to their games, they buy their jerseys, like
Mm-hmm.
they out there buying them food and in the in the dining hall, or taking them out to eat, or whatever. So they're already put, like, I think Kevin Samuels talked about this. Like they're already putting in their work
Yeah.
for these
And,
guys. So yeah. So who
and
you think
that's
they're gonna want? Who you
and
think
that's
they're gonna
really what
want
happened
if
there.
if Becky feeding you spaghetti when you hungry, you know what I'm saying? Giving you money, taking you places. Who, that's who Jamal's gonna pick. He's gonna pick Becky. He ain't gonna pick uh Jamila, who just with him now, who wants to get with him because she see he's successful. Like, nah, he gonna pick the girl who he know was down for him when he was still a scrub.
Hmm. And like I said, I got my first taste of that in high school, especially when I joined ROTC. Because, sisters was looking like, oh man, you carny, this, that, G.I. Joe just busting on us. But it was white girls, who came and was like, you got potential with that. I can see, that you're doing well and everything like that. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I got my first taste of that just being in ROTC. because this dude was like, "Oh man, you corny, man, all this, all that." They walk around wearing them high water pants, and, just things. you
Yeah, they're
know,
brutal. They
yeah.
were brutal. Like I
I
remember
tell that to my cousin
now,
all the time, like how brutal they were.
like he'd be always sharing stories with because we when we went to high school together at in Milford Mill.
Mill, yeah,
But like I think I had more success when I was there, but I still got some flack. Like they were like, "Oh, why you talk white?" Or
yeah.
stuff like
hmm
that. I never got that in the DC area though. That which was funny because I think being in DC suburbs, it was more it was a higher socioeconomic level. So I didn't really get that. But in the Baltimore area, sometimes I would get that like, why do you talk that way? Why do you sound white? All this, dumb stuff, or you must be corny. You
Oh,
know,
Philly was brutal. Like
oh yeah,
I seen the worst of the worst in Philly. Been through it, man. It's like
that was
there was no filter at all.
my first girlfriend was in Philly. This black chick. Um, we went to Parkway together, and
Uh-huh.
we were together for like 2 years before we broke up. And the only reason we broke up was because then she moved to Willingboro, New Jersey,
Okay.
and I'm in Baltimore. I'm like, that's just too far because it was already hard enough. Because this is the '90s. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have the web until like
Yeah.
93, 94.
hmm
And it's like the only way we communicated, we were doing it the old school, writing each other letters and talking it long distance. And I'm like running up the phone bill like every month. And that was getting stressful. And then I would sneak out to Philly and stay there the whole day. Like kids, yeah, I don't know about that. Like I would, hit the Greyhound and be out there all day long.
Oh, I used
And
to see
so
that Greyhound all the time, man. Between Baltimore and Philly. I mean, I used
yeah,
to
so
be down in Baltimore a lot, but for some reason, I don't know. Mark is my cousin. He knows this, but for some reason, every time I used to go to Maryland, I used to always pull something. I don't know why, because I hear you talk about Baltimore and Mark, and I'm like, wow. I used to go down to Maryland, and I don't know. Well, I didn't have that. To me, I had worse experience in Philly than I did, down there. Well, then again, now that I look at it, they wasn't really Baltimore. It was like always, the DMV area.
mhm.
Baltimore, I wasn't really feeling
I
Baltimore
think
like that. But
I think DMV and Baltimore are two different cultures.
yes, I see, and I saw that back in the day too, and I definitely see that now, even more than ever. Because
Like I
Philly,
think the women are better in the DMV, but they're really entitled. That's what I was telling. That's what I was telling your cousin. I was like, yo, these. I was like, you got to date outside the Washington Beltway. I said, you're not going to find wifey material. I was like, a lot of them are just superficial and entitled.
yeah, I think
So,
I was messing with. I met somebody before. I think it was PG County, Prince George's County,
mm,
like in that area. It's never been in like Baltimore per se, but it's always been on the outskirts. And I always just thought Baltimore and Philly, it was not that much of a difference. But
it's
all the
not.
women I kind of met wasn't Baltimore because
And I used to. You probably heard me say in my live stream that I think Baltimore and Philly probably got the ugliest women. Like,
yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
and with Detroit coming in number three, like I don't. I was like, I refuse to go away to college, go to the army, travel, and settle with someone in Baltimore. That's why I was like, I don't know how Will Smith did it.
yeah.
Like, how you leave Philly just to get with a chick from Park Heights, Baltimore? I'm like, no.
Well, well, I know I said I was, not marrying no more Philly women, and my wife, she's from Atlanta, but
Okay.
she lived in the sort of like the county, the metro counties out here for the past 20 something years. But I said, nah, no, no more women from Philly and no more northern women. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
My wife is a Georgia peach. That's what I love
Yeah.
about
East Coast women, well, particularly the black women, are just too masculine.
her.
it,
Mhm.
this is way too masculine,
Mhm.
and that's why I was like, there's so many. It's like different issues to it. Um, oh, Howard says most beautiful women I've seen were in Panama. I haven't been to Panama yet. My right when I came to my first permanent duty station in the army, they had just left Panama, so I didn't get to go with them. But I heard they, it was kind of wild back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to the subject. So yeah, like so, I guess I started moving away from black women, like I said, in my 30s. Like it was
Mhm.
just it just happened incrementally. Like I said, in college, my last like black girlfriend was like right when I left undergrad, and there was no problems between us. We only broke up because she moved to New York and I was still here in Baltimore. She had just, she had just graduated. I had already graduated, but I was still doing like my third major and auditing some graduate school classes to see if that's where I wanted to go to graduate school.
Mhm.
Um, and then I joined the graduate student association at my on my campus, and I started noticing the difference between undergrad and grad school.
Mhm.
So when I was there, like it was me and one of my homeboys who had just gotten to a PhD program in poli sci, and the girls said they had all joined that graduate student association to find brothers, and they asked all the black guys, why did you guys join? They were like, well, we're just trying to network, find other people, you know, just also doing the graduate thing to to connect. And I was like, so we're at two different cross purposes. Like the girls are joining to find men, the guys are doing it to network. And I noticed none of the brothers were checking for the women.
Mhm.
And I was like, damn, I guess they missed their chance. They should have done that in undergrad, which is what Kevin said. Like Kevin again to the goat Kevin Samuels. He was like, all other races of women in college are you know go to college to find a man. The black women go there to show they don't need a man.
I mean that. So I mean, I remember I just in the '90s, I used to hear that all the time, and it just for me, it just seemed to progress and progress and progress. And now I just look back at world and way how things is going. I'm like, man, just to have that attitude right now, I'm like,
Mm,
you don't need a man. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, COVID proved that. When all that stuff happened during COVID, I'm like, man, you don't still don't need a man. That's like I said, what I love about, my wife that I'm married is, she came in with the sense that, hey, look, that whole masculine energy and all that, nah, she had to just fall back, kind of realize that if I'm the man, certain things that I do, she kind of fall back on and don't really take that masculine approach. But before I got married, I mean, that's all the type of women, black women that I've met, which is always, the masculine type and always just want to say, oh, I don't need this and I don't need that and I don't need a man. Nah. I'll just be like, you know what? It's like, okay, okay. And that's what I kind of learned over the years, just be like, whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah. Oh,
And
have a good one, Howard.
that masculine energy is always just
So
downfall.
the the funny thing was, I used to like the little masculine energy back when I was younger because I was like, yeah, I want one of them little crazy New York women. And so I caught a few. But I was like, after a while, it got real tiring. I'm like, yeah, this ain't that.
Hmm.
This ain't great.
Hmm.
Like, cause I was like, I was like, yeah, I want one of them little feisty New Yorkers or little Jamaican chicks. I was like, I'll make them submissive. But that only works temporarily. Like
Yep.
if they're masculine, they just want to stay masculine. They may temporarily change, but
Hmm.
you know. So
But I said,
like I said,
as I got older, I said, nah, I can't deal with that.
and
I
so it was the opposite. So like I was one of those brainwashed dudes that thought you was weak if you dated outside your race, and I used to clown like these dudes to be all up under, like white women or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like I was still interested in white women and Latino women and Asian women, but whenever I had the chance to find a black chick, I would like overlook like those other women to get with the black chick, and it usually was to my detriment. Like in high school, well, not detriment. Maybe that's too strong of a term, but like I'll say I probably passed up good for good opportunities like all the time, starting all the way back in middle school. Like I always would have an interest in like some girl who might be like white or Spanish or something, and then I would end up um, losing interest in trying to find a black girl instead. And then I looked at it in my 30s, like, man, I threw away a lot of good opportunities. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. And so I was like, I don't know where the the the, uh, the yellow fever started with me, but it started right around the time I coined the term rice bunny, and now I'm trying hard to either copyright or trademark the term because everyone uses it now. But I literally coined that term back in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was I was working at a library at the time, and I was talking with I think one of my coworkers and my supervisor. I was just like a clerk at the time, and I was like, "What's a good term I could use for like Asian women the way we have a term for white women, the snow bunny?" And I was like, "What about?" I was like, "You know what? What about rice bunny?" And they was like, "That works." That's like, "Yeah, that works." And then I almost made up one for Latino women. I was like, "What can I call them?" I was like, "Cactus bunny or spicy bunny or something." And I remember my supervisor. She's like, "What about?" She's like, "Wait a minute, I'm not helping you out here." It was funny. But yeah, it was funny because I'm all the way in I'm on East I was living in Eastern Shore at the time, and I was like, I wonder if this term will ever catch on. And literally like 3 years later, I saw like everywhere. Like by like
Yeah.
2013, 2014, I saw everyone using it. I'm like, oh shoot, this term really caught on. And it's like most people probably wouldn't believe me if I told them that yeah, I coined that term, but I literally did. So now I'm trying to copyright it before someone else does.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the same with LL Cool J coined the term the GOAT. Now everyone uses it. He missed a perfect opportunity to coin and trademark that term because
Yeah.
that literally came from his album back in was it 2004, 2003?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
he coined the term. He never took advantage of that. I was like, I'm not gonna go out the way he did.
Well, believe it or not, I was on the verge almost of, not messing with black women again. Before, like I said, I met my wife, and the Southern hospitality, the still, the values and everything like that, But prior to that, even black women that I was in relationships with, I mean, it was never the um, the two-way street. It was always some type of agenda. It was always, wanting something or even, kind of being used. And that's just, the experiences that I really had, a lot of times. So a lot of
Yeah,
good things that happened really kind of happened to me in my 40s, to be honest with you.
well, that's why a lot of people say men don't really step into their own until about 35 and over.
Yeah.
Like that's when we reach like our, I guess, social maturity,
Yeah.
and then that's usually when the tables turn. Because it was funny. I don't know where I got this from, but I was completely right back in like my early 20s. In my early 20s, I was living with my friends. We had a house together, and I was like, guys, I was like, we cannot settle down right now. I was like, we shouldn't be settling down until like our mid 30s. I was
Hmm.
like, right now, I was like, the girls run everything because we're still, I was like, we still snotty nose college kids. I was like, look, once we get out in the working world, I was like, the tables turn. We're gonna be the shit. I said, by the time we hit our 30s, if we still single, I was like, it's gonna be a complete reverse. I don't know where I got the information from back in my early 20s, but I was completely right. I don't know what because it wasn't like there was any podcasters or anything like that back then talking stuff like that in like 2001, 2002. But I was literally saying this back when I was like 22, 23. I'm like, yo, I was like, we would be suckers to get married right now. I was like, wait, I
Hmm.
said, we gotta wait this out and ride it out.
Man, I didn't get married till I'm say man, I'm 48. I didn't get married till last year. I was 47.
That was last year?
Last year.
Oh, I thought you've been married for a while.
Nah, I mean I with my wife for like we've known each other going on 5 years, but no, I just got married. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I got married. I'm always thinking about our vow renewal, but I got married in 2023, so I was 40, actually 47. Yeah, 46.
So it'll be 8 years for me in 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
So I got married at 39.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was in
So
my late.
I did. So I did exactly what I said back in my 20s. I was like, gotta wait it out, guys. And like one of my friends, he got married while we were still, well, he was 25, 26 at the time. But I still thought that was too young. I thought anything under 30 was too young.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I would always say, I know me and my cousin talk about it all the time, because where I'm at right now, and honestly, what I see guys talking about, relationships, and I know I was listening to one YouTuber today when he was saying about, single mothers, all right, especially when it come down to certain kids. I experienced that too, and I played the stepdaddy role. I did.
I couldn't do it.
And what they say when I listen to all these guys is like that hits home to me because I was there, but then when I come back and look at it, when all the smoke clears, it's like I always think, I'm like, well, what did I get out of that? You know, what the? I mean, I know because I was raised two parent household, and I know the type of values I was taught. But what I learned back in the day is the type of values I was taught don't always translate to what these women have, if they even have a definition of values at all. So I tried to instill a lot of things that I learned, but the thing about it is, no matter when it comes down to, it's like it's not yours. And regardless of what you say, it's like she has the power to be like, oh well, I don't want you to talk to my son, or especially sons like that. And I just be like,
Mm.
man, I just wasted, man, because I became really playing that stepfather role when I was like 25. No, what did I say, like 24, 25. And I was like, man, no matter how much they say, well, we looking for a stepfather, you can't be, can't. it
Yeah, I must. I think I was like red pill before there was a red pill. Like that was like even when I was a teenager, I was like, I would never date someone with kids. And the only time it happened briefly was when I was 17. But she was old. She was older than me. She was 24. I was 17, and she had a kid.
Uh-huh.
Um, and like we briefly dated. It wasn't like serious. But other than that, I
Uh-huh.
never dated anyone with a kid. I was like, I got a zero kid tolerance. I can't do it.
Yeah. And
That was
it's
like my
just,
number one thing.
and especially, these women, I mean, one I had, had sons and daughters, but the hardest part for me is just instilling those man values, just supposedly in a stepson. And no matter, what these women say, it's like, my values, what I know, and bringing up to try to be a stepfather, there was always some type of clash,
And
and
then
that's what I say. When I hear guys talk about stepfather stuff, I'm like, yeah, I've been there, done that,
it,
and I be like,
it's so cooked nowadays. Like at least because I mean, let's be honest. Like a lot of Gen X, we were raised by stepfathers.
yeah,
Like I was. A lot of my friends were, and that's kind of what kept the community from collapsing. Was that a lot of us had like um, either stepfathers or coaches or something like that kind of look out for us. Where if the biological fathers weren't around or what for whatever reason, luckily I actually had both my father and my stepfather, but uh, they had it wasn't as bad for them because there was more respect towards them now.
Hmm.
Nowadays, being a stepfather would be is cooked. Like they, I wouldn't even like. First of all, if it's a daughter, that's a no go for me because is if she gets mad at you for any reason, she can automatically just be like, "Well, he touched me" or something like that, and that's yeah, you're done.
Hmm.
I mean, either one, boy or girl, but I'm just saying, more likely, like if it's a girl, you, if she, she can always use that against you.
Yeah.
Mom, the woman dating can use that against you. On
Yeah.
top of that, even they may not let you parent the way you want to parent. Like they like, well, he ain't your kid, and all right, so that
Yep.
means I'm not responsible either. Or the kid will be like, I'm not, you're not my daddy or something like that. You know what? You're absolutely right. Go take yourself to McDonald's. Like
Yeah.
I could, I couldn't do it, and I'm not trying to play someone else saved video game. Like
Yeah.
I want to raise a kid that shares my DNA. I'm not raising some other bastard's kid because
To me, like, my story, I think I just shared my story how I got down here to Georgia. I moved down here with someone who had kids, and her whole agenda. She had a whole agenda because at first I wasn't gonna move down here, but she did. But long story short, it didn't work out. Because she ran into a situation that made her better. She had no use for me anymore, and it was like, okay, see you later. That's another
mm,
topic. Men never giving up your power, but that's that's for another story. But what I found out, the thing that was always bold in that situation, I can share with anybody, is when she said, "Okay, even though you leaving, can we still co-parent?" I'm like, "Co-parent." I'm like, once I walk out of there, the stepfather role walks out with me, and I'm
right.
like,
That
how
is
can I be a co-parent to somebody
right.
that's
That's a condition. That's a conditional relationship.
yeah? And I'm like, really? And that's really after that situation. That was at my low. I think I was 40, not that long ago. And that's when I had to realize, like, every man at some point in time, steps back and take an inventory of themselves. And I tell my cousin this all the time: sleeping on the floor in an apartment without no furniture after I was kicked out of somebody else's house. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to kind of do for me and not so much try to instill values in something that's not mine. So I experienced that, but the part that always got me was just the co-parenting. I'm like, co-parenting. I'm
Yeah,
like, once
that's
I
one.
go out the door, the stepfather role or whatever title you want to call it goes with me. I'm like, really?
I couldn't do it. What's funny is like right before we started the live stream, I was telling you I was watching a movie with my wife, and I was actually showing her the movie Jungle Fever,
Okay.
and she's actually enjoyed it. It's funny. The funny thing with dating someone overseas is like almost I we can watch like old movies and it's still a first for them.
Hmm.
So she's never seen a Spike Lee film before. She didn't even know who Spike Lee was. So I had to tell her who he was. Now she knows who Wesley Snipes is because she's watched superhero films with me.
Okay.
But she
Yeah.
didn't know like Spike Lee films or like
Uh-huh.
the sort of artsy way he makes his movies. So I was introducing her to like how he does. I was being like a film nerd, telling her how he does like certain setups with the camera. You know how like when he'll have like like I would explain to her like how in certain scenes for like dramatic effect, like he'll put the camera right on the actors, and it'll look like they're like floating.
Yeah.
He does that in a lot of his movies, and I was telling her how like he does that for dramatic effect in his movies. That's like a quintessential Spike Lee thing in all his films. That's how
Yeah.
you're watching a Spike Lee film. So, but she was enjoying the movie. Like she was laughing when he was digging out his wife in the beginning, and and like the little scenes with the Italian girl and stuff like that. And so we were laughing in the beginning of the movie because like the daughter was listening to them make love or whatever, And I was like, yeah, that might happen with us. She was like, yeah, I think so. I was like, so who's gonna do the explanation? She was like, oh, you are. I'm like, okay. But it was funny. And like I say, any movie I'll introduce her to is like often the first time. So I've introduced her to all my favorite movies from like Back to the Future, Batman, Star Wars. The greatest thing was seeing someone who never saw the biggest the biggest cliffhanger in all of cinematic history, which is Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
For the first time in like 20, when did we watch it? 2017, 2018, something. And when he says to Luke, "I am your father," like to us, like we've seen that for the last 40 years. That's not a big deal. But she turned to me and she was like, "Baby, is that for real? Is that real?" I was like, "Yeah." And she was hooked. She was hooked on Star Wars after that. So
My thing is old 70s sitcoms. I tell my cousin about it all the time. Like my favorite of all time, Sanford and Son, but then All in the Family for some reason. I watched that.
yeah,
Wow, man.
I used to watch those, but I couldn't get into a lot of those sitcoms back in the day because they were all built on struggle.
Yeah.
And it's like for me, like my favorite sitcoms were like when people were thriving. So I liked Silver Spoon and
Yeah.
Webster and Different Strokes, and then especially when Cosby Show came on. Like outside of Different Strokes and Webster, that was like one of my favorite like black sitcoms because it showed a black middle class family. It normalized a middle class black family, which not until then you didn't see. Like the only time you saw like the like a black person doing well in those sitcoms was when it was a kid that was living with a white family. But like, but until then, like the first time you saw a successful thriving like black family was the Cosby Show. It
But so,
normalized it normalized that experience, and that was so. I don't care what people say about Cosby. Like that still is going to be like he was the American dad back then. He
yeah.
normalized like black families. He normalized black kids going to college. So I was like, you can't understate the importance of that. But
I know
yeah,
one
it's like
show
so.
I see they show constant reruns of, like when I be on what up Facebook was Family Matters. That was part of the TGIF
Yeah,
part lineup. So I used to watch a lot of that, but after a while, Family Matters became about Urkel and
it got
Harpo.
it got too. They just took too many. What's the word I want to say? It just became too off the chains. Like they were just stretching people's suspension of disbelief. Like
Yeah.
all the family members kept dropping out of the family
Hmm.
because
They
most people
still
just think it was
do
because
wrong.
some people think it was just the sister. No, almost all of them left. First, it was the youngest sister. Then it was the aunt. Um, then it was her son. But it was like her son wasn't there, but his friends were still coming to the
Yeah.
house. I'm like, what?
Well,
His
Waldo.
friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like what? No, not Eddie's friends, like the little aunt, what was her name? Aunt, whatever her name was, her son, Richie.
Oh,
I think
Richie.
that was
Yeah.
the name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so remember Richie had little friends coming to the house, but
Yeah.
then Richie went off to be with his mom, but his friends were still coming to the house.
And then they
And
have
then
another
eventually,
Harriet too. In the later
yeah,
episodes, they have another Harriet. I think when Eddie became a cop or something like that.
see,
I think there
that's
was
when I
another
stopped
Harriet.
watching it. I stopped watching it once Urkel and Laura
Har-
finally got together.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
never so it wasn't until like a few years ago that I knew there was extra seasons where Eddie became a cop. I was like, wait, he became a cop? I was like, I
yeah,
didn't even see this season.
yeah.
I never saw that until a few years ago. I saw it online.
I
But
think I stopped when they did that episode with that Steve Urkel robot, whatever the case that stupid shit was.
yeah, that was a classic one.
That's when I stopped watching it.
And then even the mother-in-law, the grandmother left. Like it was like everyone left and like the show just became completely Urkel focused.
Yeah,
And then I didn't realize how much of a simp he was until later on. I'm like, he literally changed his entire DNA and personality to impress a girl who didn't want him. Meanwhile, he had a girl fawning over him
Yeah,
who
Myra.
looked better than Laura.
Better. Yeah.
Myra. Myra was beautiful. Like, I was so mad at him back in the day as a kid. I'm like, why are you trying to? I was like, she wants you. Why are you trying to get with Laura's little stuck up ass, and she's not even as pretty?
Laura was
That used to
Laura
piss
was
me off.
brutal. Gen
And
X.
he
Like I tell
plus
my
I didn't like
like I tell my
plus I didn't
cousin,
like
like
him.
Laura was the typical Gen X woman we had to deal with.
Right.
I
And
like,
on,
wow, man.
and yeah, it was just crazy. I'm like, this dude literally invented a machine to change his DNA and personality to impress a girl who didn't want him.
That's when I stopped watching. I'm
That's
like, man,
crazy.
this shit, man, I
When
ain't
you had a girl literally fawning over you
uh-huh.
and prettier than the girl that you want, like that he made to me he was like a mockery of black nerds. That's another reason I didn't like it. Whereas Dwayne Wayne, in a different world, was how I identified as a black nerd. Like that was the black nerd that I wanted to be like Dwayne Wayne.
Yeah.
Like he was, I think he was like a straight A student, engineering. I even had the flip up shades back then too.
I
Like, I
had a
remember
pair
when
of
I
them
bought
too.
those. People was like, "Oh, okay, you got the flip ups," because I had that back in
I
like,
had them too. I used to have
yeah, man. So I Dwayne, like again, I shout out to Cosby for that because like he he made a cool black nerd and he made it normal that black kids went to college. Like
yeah.
until like I saw other people struggling, I didn't realize that most black people didn't go to college. Like I thought that was just a normal course of action leaving high school
Mm-hmm.
because of because of his TV shows. But I don't think I showed my wife those. But like we watched a lot of classic films that I like I said, Star Wars, Batman, like most of a lot of MCU films, stuff like Karate Kid, and I've introduced her to a few black films as well. Like that's why, like I said, we're currently watching Jungle Fever.
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't
she
seen that
she
in a long
she
time.
actually had to pull herself away from the movie because she was getting too engrossed in it. She was like, "I gotta run some errands." I was like, "All right, no problem." But
Man, I ain't seen Jungle Fever in years. Like the 90s.
yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, but it's on Tubi, so I'm like, we've been watching a lot of stuff on Tubi because when we try to watch it through Netflix or my Disney Plus, like it won't we can't watch it through the Google we call it Google the Google shit Google screen thing.
Yeah.
So, they put restrictions on it, so it's not that many platforms that you can still view through Google. So we've been watching a lot of stuff on Tubi. Prime Video we can still watch on there though for right now until
That's
they
all
put a
I watch.
restriction on it.
That's all I really watch on the Prime. Like old, like me. I know they brought the Rocky series back, so I'm a big fan of Rocky.
Oh, they did. Oh, that's the series I watched. Well, we didn't watch. I think we only watched the first three when they were on Netflix. I don't think we might have watched the first four, but I know we watched the first two at least.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I've been watching stuff like that with her, and like, so that's sort of the cool thing dating interracially, and not someone who's just interracial, but also, uh, you know, foreign. So everything is novel to her, and like I'll watch Filipino films with her. Like when I'm over there, one of the cool things about the Philippines is like they put a spotlight on their own local talent. Like the theaters will actually put out these local films. So I
Mhm.
actually get to learn a lot about them through seeing their local films.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I was
yeah,
doing
and like
business in the Philippines before. We was doing business with someone in the Philippines. Yeah.
oh, okay,
Most, to be honest, like on LinkedIn, when I'm doing my business part, I see a lot of people who connect with me are actually from the Philippines.
there's a lot of I mean, like if you're in like IT and stuff, there's a lot of people over there involved in IT, and they would be great employees because the thing is they don't get paid well over there.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of folks, even though they have have degrees in things like engineering or IT, some of them start just work at call centers because the call centers pay better.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I know the person I was networking with because I was going to outsource some of my services to them, accounting services. When she told me she was a CPA, like, but then I think she was saying it wasn't as valued there or something like it is here, and I'm like,
They don't. My wife's cousin, like she went overseas to Laos to get a better job with because she did accounting or accounting management,
yeah,
and they did not pay her well in the Philippines. Like even her mom was trying to like ask me if I could help them out financially. Like literally at my wedding, she asked me could I was I interested in buying her a cow. I'm like, buying a cow? What am I gonna do with a cow? Like on my wedding day. And I had to ask my wife, is that normal? I was like, do people normally do that? She was like, no. I was like, oh, okay, okay.
wow,
That's why I was avoiding. But I mean, the her cousin didn't ask me. It was her aunt that asked me that. I'm like, what?
yeah. But I just found that over here CPA. That's because I'm in accounting. But I mean, I started studying for my CPA years ago, but I was like, forget it. But over here, that's regard. But when she was like, I'm a
Oh yeah,
CPA, but then it's not as valued. I'm like,
it's it's not because it's like eh, they don't pay well for stuff like that there. So you might have an accounting like my ex, I'm gonna get into that in a second. So my very first Filipino girlfriend, she moved to Dubai so that she could get a better, so she can make a better living with her degree, even though she was doing like accounting and business as well.
yeah,
You have some people who are nurses; they don't make a lot, and this is why a lot of them flocked here to America when they had that nursing crisis.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of them came here on that. Teachers, you see a lot of people over here hiring Filipino teachers on an exchange program
Yeah,
because a lot of people don't want to go into the education field here anymore. But a lot of those people over there, they come right here to teach because they make way more money. They can bring their family with them, and for them, that's a huge upgrade.
yeah. Because I noticed that like on LinkedIn, every day. I mean, I just made another connection today with someone from the Philippines, and my experience working with them, it's like they basically want to come and like when I get my clients, kind of hire them to come in and do like the back office bookkeeping and all that. And I found that they're very, diligent with what they do. Like, she um, basically kept me in the loop. Treated me like basically I was her boss. And I always like to say, even when I was a director, it's like, no, I'm not your boss, but that's how she treated me, and I was fascinated. And I said, a lot of times when my business grows like that, I'll outsource a lot of my services to individuals from the Philippines because their work, their diligence, and I just had a real good experience with that from
Yeah,
a
the
business.
culture. I mean, the culture they just show more reverence.
Mm,
They call everyone sir or po.
yeah,
And I
because
was like, you don't have to call me sir. They was like, no, that's how we show, respect. Or like family members, they all call me Kuya, which is like basically like saying big brother.
yeah, yeah, and that's the experience I had. Unfortunately, my business at the time it didn't generate the clientele like that, but just my experience alone. Plus I realized that they was like a 13-hour time difference or something like that. So, where it's like nighttime, they are working. I was always wondering why I would get these files like at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning out of time. But just the whole prospect of how they, took on the assignments and how they treated me and everything like that. I'm like, hey, when our business gets big enough, I'm definitely going to outsource it.
Yeah,
Because
they're always 12 hours behind us.
yeah, because I think the person
Which
I
is
was working with was in Manila. What city was that? Is it Manila? I know it started with an M.
Makati.
No, man, I forget the name. It's like the big city. It's like
So
the airport there.
so Metro Manila is the
Yeah.
is like the capital province. But so most people think Metro Manila is a city. Metro Manila is the whole metropolis, and it's like 16 cities together.
Oh, so like
And
how
and,
Japan
and
is.
so there's a city of Manila, but it's separate from Metro Manila. It's within Metro Manila. But usually when people are referring to that whole region, that it's called the National Capital Region, they just refer to the whole thing as Manila, but it's actually like 16 cities and one municipality. So you got the city of Manila there, then you have Mandaluyong, where I used to live. We have Makati. Trying to think, is there any other one with the name M? Uh, those are big. The main ones I know to start with the letter M is Makati, Manila, and Mandaluyong. There's a city. There's a province outside of Metro Manila. There's an island province called Marinduque, but um, I don't think anyone would confuse that with Manila.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, it was probably within Metro Manila because the three major metro areas in the Philippines. There's Metro Manila, there's Metro Cebu, which is about 6 or 7 cities, and then there's Metro Davao, which is in the south, which is about 4 or 5 cities.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it was fascinating. I was going to go over to do business, but like I said, it was around the time my business kind of crashed. So, but I'm building it back up. It's gonna get there.
I mean, if you ever do, let me know because I'm definitely. I had a virtual call center there for a while, but I had to shut it down. But I do plan on going back. But this time, I want to start a physical office because when I was working for my previous employer, like they already had an office for me out there. And then I was there for a little while, and then I had to come back, so they shut it down. So I would have to restart an office if I go back.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested in that. I know it would be easy to find employees to work at the call centers because as soon as they find out there's an American call center opening up, they're like, "Hey, can I come? Can I work with you guys?" But for me, it would be a little bit different because they're used to doing more um, like either customer service or technical support. But what we do is lead generation, which is hard sales, and a lot of them aren't used to doing hard sales.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was offering accounting services, so they jumped on that.
Okay.
He definitely
Oh yeah.
jumped on, and they was helping me with marketing aspects and everything like that too.
Yeah.
So
So you have a lot. Yeah, a lot of people who go to college there is either um, hosp- hospitality management because either they want to work somewhere like they want to work at a at an airline or in somewhere like hospitality, or they want to do IT, or they want to do like accounting or nursing. Those like the big ones.
yeah,
Pause. um,
so
but yeah,
it's
if it's any of those industries, like you'll definitely find a bunch of Filipinos that will be available.
yeah, 'cause that's all pretty much I connect with on LinkedIn. Like I said, I just
And speaking of that, they have a they have a connection with Black people, a long-standing history with Black people that goes back a long ways. Um, like for one of the funny things I found out, so you know how like every state back in the day before interracial marriage was legalized through the that Supreme Court decision, what was it? I forgot. The one with the Black woman actually married the white guy. That was the landmark Supreme Court case that struck down anti-miscegenation laws.
Mhm.
But so like every state had anti-miscegenation laws on its books, even to this day. And what I found interesting was in Baltimore, they had an anti-miscegenation law that specifically forbade Filipinos and blacks from marrying. I was like, wow, that is very specific. Like all interracial marriages were illegal at the time, but they specified in that Baltimore law that black and Filipinos were not allowed to marry because
Wow.
apparently they were two of the biggest minority groups. in that time, which I didn't know there was a large Filipino community in the Baltimore region at the time, but apparently there was, and they they kept it was on the books that they couldn't marry,
Wow.
and then on top of that, things go back further. So we had a Filipino American War briefly with them that lasted about a year.
Yeah,
So
I heard about
when
that. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it started with the Spanish American War. So after the Spanish American War, we took some of the territories from Spain, and one of them was the Philippines. However, America didn't know or didn't care that the Philippines had just declared themselves independent from Spain. So they had been fighting Spain in a losing war. They actually got some movies about that on Netflix. Um, but they had been fighting a losing war against Spain for their independence. And then right when so the irony is right when Spain decided to pull away because then they had to cede the territory to America. America took the Philippines on as their own territory, and the Philippines was like, no, wait, we didn't get the memo. So then they went to war with America, and guess who they sent to fight them amongst some of the other soldiers at the time, the Buffalo Soldiers.
Mm, mm.
Some of those Buffalo Soldiers defected and went to the Philippine side and said we were not going to fight these guys, and they fought for the Filipinos.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah, that's interesting. And then and another thing is there are indigenous Black people who live in the Philippines and other parts of Southeast Asia called Negritos.
Hmm.
I don't know if I mentioned that before, but they're specifically called the Aita in the Philippines, and there's three different groups. There's the Aita, the Agta, and I think the other one's called the Ware or something like that. But they're all three Negrito groups. The only difference is they all arrived in different waves in different parts of the Philippines. So there's the Northern Aita, the Southern Aita, and then the Agta, I think. Well, I think, yeah, that's what they're called. Not Wari, that's something else. But yeah, you had a northern group, a southern group, and another group called the Agta, and they're like these small Black people who arrived in the Southeast Asia through the wave of migration, stemming all the way from Africa, around the Horn of Africa, into India, and eventually into Southeast Asia, and then into the Pacific Islands. And so you'll see in different parts of Southeast Asia, there are indigenous Black people. Like there's some in southern regions of Thailand and Vietnam, and definitely in Indonesia, where you have a whole part of Indonesia just Black, like over in the western parts of it.
Yeah.
And so they also have that. So they also had that connection with Black people. They had their own indigenous Black people who arrived there before the modern day Filipinos.
Hmm. Wow. History lesson here.
And so yeah, so I actually, if you want to check it out, I actually have a video up of my wife going to one of the Negrito villages, and she's part of this little hiking group, and they go out and do like philanthropy and stuff like that. So they actually went out to one of these Negrito villages and passed out like goods to the Aita children, and the children were sitting there playing and stuff like that. She has more footage that I haven't uploaded yet, but she started to edit it. But yeah, if you want to check it out, that's great. Like there's like a lot of people would know there's like indigenous Black people all the way in Southeast Asia.
Wow.
Right?
Interesting.
And and then it extends to like World War II and Vietnam. Like a lot of like my uncle, I remember he was in the Vietnam War. He told me he was stationed in Subic Bay in the Philippines because he was in the Navy. And he said he met some he was like, yeah, I met some of the mama signs back then. I was like, why you get with them, Uncle Ben? He's like, oh no, they too old now. I was like, yeah. Funny.
Interesting.
But yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, they've been used to Black people. They really like us. Like the only thing is when you go there, you might hear the N bomb, but when they're saying it, they're not saying it like disdainfully. Like they're saying it because they see you know, music videos and, you know, pop, you know, pop culture where people say the N word like in a nice way. So I remember one of my wife's cousins, he was like, "What's up, nigga?" I was like, "What?"
You know, you say
Or
that.
it was even funny. I was at the city hall in Mandelion because that's we were getting our documents together for our wedding, and one of the women working there, like it was funny. The guys in the office, they was like, "Can y'all?" It was like, "Can you find her a man? She really needs a man." This one of the Filipinos guys was telling me that. I'm cracking up, and she's like, "Yeah, I need me a nigga," something like that. I'm like, "Wait, what? What?" Yo, I was like, "Wow." But
Oh
it's
man,
like when they do it, they don't know better. Like
yeah,
so, I didn't get mad because it's not like they weren't saying it in a way like
man.
so.
Speaking of that word, is like one thing I do see that I agree with what a lot of YouTubers saying is like that word, especially to the young generation, kind of is like you say that word and it's like just look like whatever. You know what I mean?
But see, like I got desensitized back in the '90s because, like I said, when I moved to the DC suburbs, I'm in Montgomery County, which at the time was the wealthiest county in the country. Um, Less than half of the population were black, and out of that, most of them weren't even Black American. They were mostly like Caribbean,
Yeah,
African, Afro Latino, and but everyone at the time, it was like 94, 95. Everyone in that suburb was saying nigga. Like the Asians were saying it, the Indians were saying it, the white people, like everybody was like, "Yo, what's up, nigga?" Not to me, but to each other. Like you had you had Asians calling other Asians nigga, like, "What's up, nigga?" I'm like, what? Because I'm I'm fresh out of Baltimore and Philly, and I'm like, the hell?
I ain't never hear that in Philly. No.
It, yeah, it was crazy, bro.
Whoa.
Like people in Philly and Baltimore knew better. Like if they said it, they were saying it, you know, and like they let you know, like they trying to disrespect you, but they were saying it out there, like they really could use the word. I'm like, are you serious?
Man, I seen somebody say that word literally. I'll never forget this fight where he said it in front of a whole bunch of us. And after school, you know, he got to this fight. God rest his soul, he passed away now. But man, he literally almost he was one punch away from actually losing his life.
Mm.
So when I say, you know, the effects of that word, like being the age I am now, I'm like I seen somebody almost lose their life trying to be a Billy Badass. Say that word and it almost cost them their life.
I believe it. So
But that was just unheard of. I mean, if they, I mean, we was called that, but if we were, it was like always from a distance, like maybe driving down a car and just yelling out the window and go back to Africa and all that stuff. But it was never, you know, face to face. They knew
yeah, like I said, overseas, you rarely, well, in Europe maybe, like East, like and like yeah, parts of Europe, they'll use it in the derogatory way, but yeah, often in Asia, like they're saying it because they think it's cool to say. And like I said, the women out there, they do like brothers. Like there's only I mean, there's a few that might not like you, but the majority they like black guys. Like the only ones that probably won't date black guys are the ones who are like of a very elite status. But those women won't really date any foreigner unless he's like wealthy. But you have a upper crust of Filipinos. Same as here. Like they're the ones you're rarely gonna come across unless you're in one of their inner circles. And so they don't really for them it's not about race, it's more about like, like financial status.
better.
So like I said, I think one of the NBA players was an NBA player, something like that, married is he dating or married like like a really famous Filipino actress over there. And it's like, you know, over here we wouldn't even know who she was unless you know about the films over there. But for her, it was just like maintaining like her social status to be with like someone from here who's like a baller. because over there she's like top notch. I can't remember what her name is or the NBA player she was with, but like except like I said, except for the elite who only would date not out of race loyalty, but more out of like maintaining their elite status. Most of the women, most of the average women will definitely date black guys,
Yeah, I heard
and
that.
it is an option. Like how people in the passport bro movement keep saying, go where you know go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. And
Is that
a
movement
lot of
still? Is that because I
uh,
don't hear much about it anymore? Because I
it's
know
still
when I first started, it was like 2020, 2021, the biggest
it's
height of
still
that.
there. They just don't use the term that often because it's become dilute. Now, especially you gotta, especially after that little stupid expose last year on what's that news broadcast? I can't remember, but they were talking about how these passport bros were wilding out and stuff like that. But most of those people they were calling passport bros were just white sex pats. And I'm like, those are not the same groups. Like
Yeah.
the black, like passport bros started like now, like every race of men from America are trying to call themselves passport bros, but it started specifically with black men. So when I'm in some of these groups, like on Facebook and other places, and I hear all these guys trying to like revision the history of it, saying, "Yeah, these were original passport bros," and they would point to these white guys. I'm like, "No, cut that shit out." I was like, "No, it wasn't." I was like, first of all, the term was coined, several years ago by a black guy, and also they all trace their history to the black guys from the World War II era who went to Europe and to the Pacific Rim and found women, overseas while they were deployed. And there's even a famous Jet magazine. I wish I could bring it up here. Um, but there's a famous Jet magazine issue from like 1950, I think like 54, something like that. And there's literally like uh, a black GI and his Japanese wife, and on the cover it says, "Do Japanese women make better wives?" I was like, wow, they really put that out in 1954. Like,
Mm.
so that is the roots of the passport bro movement, not these white sex pats. The white sex pats have been doing their thing forever. The passport bro movement itself started with black men traveling overseas for love, and started, like I said, with the World War II era guys who ended up, hooking up with these women when they were, you know, deployed over in the, Europe and Asia. And so yeah, it's still around. Like you see Zoom to Thailand with Richie Mack, he's still thumping hard for the passport bro. Austin Holloman still does his thing. He just doesn't use the term anymore because he himself said like 3 years ago that he didn't like how the term was being used by everyone to call themselves a passport bro, and they were doing degenerate stuff. He was like he didn't want to be associated with the term if it was going to be used just for people being degenerate. And so a lot of people latched onto that in the mainstream media when they finally went mainstream, saying that, oh, these are all just degenerate guys or they're unwanted here in America. And I was like, yeah, but let's parse that for a second. Like, if they're unwanted here, then what is your problem? Like, it's like if they're not wanted here and they're finding love somewhere else, why do you have a problem with that? You didn't want them anyway. It was like the fact of the matter is, one, these women, a lot black women particularly, want these guys to be around as their cleanup men, to be the stepdaddies after they've rode the penis carousel for 20 plus years and had nothing to show for it but a couple of bastards. um, then they want the cleanup men, the guys that they dissed when they were younger to get with Pookie and Ray Ray,
Man,
who could sling meat but not hold down a job or take care of her.
I call
And
that the Gen X playbook.
right. And then so these guys go overseas and they find out these women are like raised to be wives. So they're more feminine. They come from these traditional backgrounds. Usually like they're like Catholic or like Catholic or Buddhist or something like that. So they are very, traditional and conservative. And so they just are more wifey material. And so then they try to say, oh, well, these women are just too stupid, don't speak English, and are uneducated. That's why they get with them. And that's when Asian women started clapping back at the black women. I don't remember if you remember how viral that went on YouTube and some other social media, but like there was like Filipino and Thai women and Chinese women and Japanese women making videos that like clapping back at black women and American women in general, saying, "How dare you call us uneducated and stupid and stuff like that?" They was like, "Don't be mad because your men chose us.
Oh,
Y'all didn't want them, so what's
oh,
the problem?"
I remember
There
that.
were Asian, there were Asian women saying this, and they was like, they used to call us educated. It was like, no, there's like you look at the stats, like more, a lot of their women were educated in their respective countries compared to the U.S. So it's like whatever.
Yeah, I remember all
So
that.
that started tarnishing black women's images overseas because of that. Um, and then it's like then the other thing was, well, all these guys are broken, don't make money and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, you can't travel unless you have money. So that doesn't even make sense. I was like, people aren't traveling to Singapore and Taiwan and Japan and to Colombia and all that sort of stuff if they don't have money. So they'll just point to the single examples of where they find guys who are like stuck in Dominican Republic or somewhere begging for money, when that's like the exception and not the rule. And it's like, yeah, anyone can point to some little kooky who went overseas and now he's stuck without ways to find himself back. But that doesn't speak to all the hundreds of guys overseas. Like, if you, like nowadays, when these black women are starting, so now you got passport sisters, and a lot of these women are going to the places where the passport brothers are to try to find them. And it's like, can't we make our own moves? Like, none of us said anything when they were going to Jamaica for years, getting their back blown out by Jeffrey. Like they had a whole Toni Morrison made a whole novel about that. Wait, Stella got her groove back. That was a whole thing that was going on with black women traveling for years, and no one really said anything about it because it wasn't put on blast like it was today. Because you didn't have like the internet to do that. But they have been doing that for years, and it came out recently because a lot of these guys started telling their stories about how these black women came there paying for sex with these men in places like Jamaica and parts of West Africa.
Yeah.
And like the whole the how Stella got her groove back itself is funny because that was based on the author's real life. But what the movie and the novel didn't reveal was later on that guy came out as gay and said that he was just using her for her money once he got to America. Like he got to America, divorced her, and came out the closet.
Wow.
I don't think people would have liked that part if Tay Diggs had to do the sequel.
Very interesting. Very. Whoa! I didn't realize it was that late, man. This was great.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to sign because I gotta get up early. Well, yeah, go work out like from the last time. But I really
Same,
enjoyed
same.
this.
Yeah, we
Really
got we
enjoyed
got to
this.
continue.
Yeah. I'm saying
Hopefully,
next time I'll come up that way. Me and my cousin definitely gotta hang out.
all right, bet. Have you been to Jollibee's yet?
No,
All right, let's do that. Tell Mark, yeah, tell Mark is like let's go do Jollibee's.
Charlie.
It's
Okay.
a Jollibee's is like the Philippine equivalent of McDonald's, and they've
Okay.
become so successful that they're opening branches all over the U.S. The one here in the only one here in Maryland is in it's in the D.C. area. It when it opened up last year, it became the best fried chicken place in the entire state.
Okay.
And the one in California, a new one they just opened, is now considered the best fried chicken in California. So they are really good restaurants.
Okay. Yeah. Next time I make my way up there, definitely, excuse me, definitely have to hang out.
Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, we could try to do another live stream. Oh, tomorrow if you can catch it. I'm trying. It may not be tomorrow. It might be the day after. But um, I'm trying to get a Thai girl as a guest on my stream. either tomorrow or the day after,
That's gonna be
and she's gonna talk about the Thai Cambodian war that was been going on, and they just did a ceasefire.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely be looking out for it because I'll be checking your lives. I'll be like, yeah, this it's like I'll be so much, but it's so much to do on the live. It's be like, man, I'll be wanting to catch things and I'll be like, wow. But we'll get it next time. I won't
All right,
delay as much like from it won't be like 3 months or so. So I'll definitely keep you posted when the next time I can come on and do a live stream.
all right, bro. Man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate it too. So but we'll be in touch.
All right, yeah, and I'm gonna make sure I link your channel so that people can check out your channel too.
Okay. I appreciate it.
All right,
Yo,
bro. I'll take.
all right, bro.
I'll
You have
let
a
you
good
go. I know
night.
you gotta go.
Okay.
All
You
right,
have a good night. I'll talk. All
all
right.
right. Thank you.
All right.
Take
Bye.
care.
Take care.
You too.